Hello everyone, my name is AndrewAJT and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about something that is very interesting, and this has actually been asked of me a lot, and that is how do you rebuild in old school RuneScape? So it's an unfortunate situation when you get hacked or when you get cleaned at the duel arena. No matter how it happens, it's a tough situation, but there are many things you can do to rebuild, and I actually want to talk about some of them today. So here are my top 5 tips to rebuild in old school RuneScape. Because individual money-making methods are so dependent on your levels, in this video we're mainly going to focus on overall strategy to rebuild if you need to. And keep in mind, I recommend you do all of these things. This is not like a list where I recommend you just do the best one and stick to it. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 5 is to prevent the situation from ever happening again. So for example, if you got hacked, you need to figure out why you got hacked, what went wrong, and how to prevent it, because you do not want to rebuild and get your bank back and then get hacked again and then lose all that progress again. I know sometimes it could be easier said than done to figure out how you got hacked, but definitely look into it. I have an account security guide in the description, which you can check out. I recommend doing everything in there. Also, you could get in touch with Jagex support on Twitter, try to get some answers there. If you lost your bank at the duel arena, then you need to stop staking. I've seen people rebuild a little bit, then stake again and lose everything again, and it's just a pointless cycle. Personally, I would just avoid it entirely. The math is not on your side. You lose GP on average, so definitely do not stake ever again. Those are just a few common examples. The point is you want to figure out why it happened and how you can prevent it, so you can just move on from there. Number 4 is to make good use of cheap gear because it's actually surprisingly effective. This game is very well known for people liking the best gear possible. We want the highest strength bonus, the highest range bonus, the most fancy gear ever. But really the secret is the best gear ever doesn't actually help that much. You can wear D-Hide and an Abyssal Whip and a Dragon Defender and a Helm of Nateznot and actually be almost as effective as if you had the most expensive gear in the game. Yeah, it's true in the long term that the better gear will actually save time and do more damage over time, and the better gear might be necessary for some bosses depending on your skill level and stats. But we're not talking about using cheap gear forever because the goal is to rebuild and buy the good gear back. There's nothing wrong with using some cheap gear in the meantime, even if it's a Dragon Scimitar or something. And you also want to take advantage of untradeable gear, so go get a Fighter Torso, a Fire Cape, a Void Set. These are such good items that are literally free, they just cost time to get. Also take advantage of some diary gear because you can get as many of these as you would like once you complete the diary, so even if you have nothing else, you could literally grab a Wilderness Sword and kill green dragons for 10 minutes until you can afford a Rune Scimitar, so really anything is possible. There's nothing wrong with looking like a noob, especially if you're rebuilding. So I had a lot of ideas for the third entry on this list, so I'm actually just going to combine them into some general tips here. The first one is just to take your time. Falador wasn't built in a day, so don't expect to be able to rebuild right away. It's okay that your bank is not what it used to be, and I would just suggest improving your account in the meantime. And chances are when you're finished, your account is going to be better than before you lost everything anyways. Also, keep in mind that when you started RuneScape, you probably had nothing as well, so it's not like you've never been in this situation. And now you actually have some massive advantages because you still have all your skills and, more importantly, your game knowledge, so it should be much easier than before. I also highly recommend doing PVM with friends because if you are doing a boss where the gear is somewhat important, like for example at DKs it would be difficult to solo it with a D-Skimmy and a Rune crossbow, bringing someone with you could make it much easier. Dagonoth Kings is actually a perfect example of this because it's somewhat difficult to solo DKs in very cheap gear, but the duo is fairly easy with proper preparation and levels. There's lots of other bosses like this actually. And finally, I definitely recommend going for a quest cape if you don't have one already. There are some good money-making methods which are locked behind quests, for example, Rune Dragons. And thankfully, most quests don't really require much GP to complete, so it's a very good thing to go for. The runner-up spot on our list is to go for pet drops. I recommend doing this because you can very often earn a lot of GP and improve your account at the same time while going for a pet. So for example, the Giant Mole pet is a very good one to go for because the Giant Mole has very low requirements, maybe At best, you would want a Darok set to fight it, but you don't even need that. You can use range, and you can make some decent GP at the same time. But it doesn't have to be a boss pet. You could also go for skilling pets. For example, the Chinchampa pet. You could do red or black Chinchampas, or you could go for the rune crafting pet, maybe AFK some blood runes, or maybe do some nature runes, and you're making GP at the same time and rebuilding while going for that pet. And if you actually did get the pet, then arguably your account is starting to become better than it was before you lost everything, because pets do not have a GP value. In my opinion, an account with lots of cool pet drops is much better than an account with no pet drops but just a bunch of GP. The number one thing is to go for higher skills and diary completions. I've been alluding to this one already because it is such a good thing to do, and we are very fortunate in old school that stats and diaries are permanent, so even if you got hacked again or something, you would keep your skills. They're permanent. There's no negative XP lamps as far as I know. And diaries as well, they're very good to do because they give you all those great rewards and they just make your account much better and they will be there forever. And there are some GP making methods which are dependent on diary completions. To go back to the Dagannoth Kings example, if you complete the Fremenic Elite Diary, you get noted bones drops, which is actually a very nice little bonus every trip from Dagannoth Kings and will definitely help you if you're rebuilding. More specifically, I would say go for a 99 or 2 because those are really great goals. For example, 99 firemaking is an incredibly easy one to do at Wintertot. It also gives you some pretty nice resources, especially if you're an Iron Man. Slayer is also a really great one to train. Even if you don't get 99, you can get some very nice rewards from it. You get clue scrolls, which I recommend you do all of if you can, and actually use the clue scrolls as an opportunity to train your skills and do quests if they're required. It's also one of the best ways to train combat in the long run because it's a very good use of your time. You're accomplishing a lot compared to doing something like Nightmare Zone where you're just getting combat XP and it's going to go to waste anyway when you get XP over 99. I also recommend training agility. I think it's one of the more important skills in the game. You get more free run energy, which who doesn't like that? And it's just another way that you can actually make your account better than it was before you lost everything. So that is my advice for how to rebuild on old school. Keep in mind this is just my opinion, and you're free to share some advice of your own in the comments of how to rebuild. You could probably make a documentary about this topic, so we're really just scratching the surface with some of the more important stuff in this video. Definitely hit the like button if you enjoyed and if this helped you. You can subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell to all to get notified whenever I upload. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram down below. You can join my Discord server down below and my clan chat up on screen. And if you would like to support the channel even further, you can check out my Patreon page in the end screen. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all on Tuesday.